Welcome to the Hypnosis Hour here on Talk Radio AM640. Ryan Bonner here with you on this happy but chilly Saturday afternoon. And right off the top here, I have a simple question for you. Were you successful? I'm, of course, referring to your New Year's resolution. And if you're like everybody else in North America, you made a promise to yourself at the changing of the clock from 2015 to 2016, New Year's Eve. And maybe you made the promise to friends and family as well that you're going to start doing something, or you'll stop doing something at the beginning of this year. But how successful are you with these promises? And be honest with yourself when you ask yourself that question. Are you taking the right approach to tackling these resolutions? Have you even started yet? Some of you may be putting that off. Maybe you've already given up, and maybe you're on the verge of giving up, and maybe I can help. We're going to focus this hour on the resolutions that rank second and third on the list of the most popular ones. I can help you with number one, and that one is spending more time with friends and family. I'm sorry, but I don't know. Maybe the guest with me this hour can. And she is Robbie Spear Miller. She's the director of Burlington Hypnosis. Robbie, how are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Can you help us with number one? I don't know.
Well, actually, that topic comes up a lot at the clinic.
You're kidding.
Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
And it's top of the list because everybody wants to make a change in their life, and I seek out new experiences and reconnect with people. And sometimes it's hard to get past some inner barriers in their head.
That's right. Yeah. So when people come to see a hypnotist, they're usually coming to get unhypnotized. Because we all have hypnotic trances we're in all the time.
That's an interesting way of looking at it.
So if you're caught up in doing a million things and all the kinds of tasks and busyness, then changing that pattern is what really makes the difference.
Okay, well, let's talk about these patterns. Specifically, the patterns surrounding one of the biggest addictions in the world today, smoking. And it's a great time to bring this topic up because it is National Non-Smoking Week. Now, this week was started years and years ago by the Canadian Council for Tobacco Control. And its goal, they want to help educate us Canadians about the dangers of smoking. I think we're well aware of that nowadays. They want to help people stop smoking. They want to prevent people who don't smoke right now from starting the habit. But it's one of the hardest ones to kick. And Robbie, I'm sure you've dealt with many clients who are they're just tired. They're done. They've tried so often to quit smoking, whether it's through a nicotine patch. Many people try to use e-cigarettes now to kick the habit. Cold turkey, that's another popular one, but they're not working for them.
That's right.
Now, when smokers do find you at Burlington Hypnosis, are these people who are trying to quit smoking for the first time, or are a lot of these individuals ones who have tried time and time again with other techniques and they have failed? And I don't know, maybe their attitude is, well, I've tried everything else and it didn't work out, so we'll see what happens here with this.
When they come, usually they're really ready to make a change. They've got to be sincere about making a change.
Really?
And willing to finally level with themselves and do what it takes to do it. Now with smoking, stopping smoking is a lot easier than everybody thinks, and I see it every day.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
I've seen some studies where people will maybe try the cold turkey approach. They don't use any drugs. They don't seek out hypnosis. They just figure, okay, tomorrow I'll stop smoking. The success rate is 3 to 6%, if that. It's very small. You do need some assistance.
That's right.
So,
yeah. So a lot of people think that with the smoking, the hard part is the nicotine, which in most cases is really a complete myth. And I see it all the time. So what happens is that most people, when they're smoking, they're using the smoking to change their state of mind or to cope with life in some way. And if you ask most people if they remember having their very first cigarette way back when they started, most people, if they can remember, they admit that they coughed or it tastes terrible or it made them lightheaded or dizzy or it smelled awful.
Yeah, that's usually the first things that come to mind. It was horrible, but you're still doing it years later. Yeah,
and usually they were teenagers when they started, and maybe they wanted to be cool and fit in with their friends, or maybe they wanted to rebel against their parents, or maybe they were going through something really emotional and associated, the smoking to escape from that. And so what they did was, even though they thought the smoking itself was really awful, they kept doing it, and through repetition, and they convinced themselves they were smokers.
So there really is more to it, as you said, more to just the addiction to the chemicals.
If this was a bad addiction, then we'd have a bunch of nicotine patch addicts running around You don't see that.
That's interesting.
Right? So there's a lot more going on. And you know, but what's a very good example of this is if you're watching a suspense movie, your heart rate might go up, your adrenaline goes up in response to the movie. You know it's not real, and it's all happening in your imagination, but you're getting a physiological response to it.
Robbie, how long have you been helping others through Burlington Hypnosis?
10 years.
10 years. So quite a while. And you see, and we're going to get to, I thought you were kidding when you said, I have a little folder, or a big folder I'm bringing in to show you of all the testimonials of the people you've worked with. This thing is huge.
Yeah.
It does weigh quite a few pounds. And you've gone through a sea of people who have come to you for help.
That's right.
With their smoking issues.
Yes.
And we will, when we come back from our break in a moment, you have 9 smart reasons to stop smoking today. And many of them are probably straightforward. You shouldn't have to mention them to people, but maybe some are things that they've never really thought about before.
A lot of people like to be in denial about a lot of this, right? Even though they're the warnings on the cigarette packages, they kind of just don't even pay attention to them
Do those
anymore.
do anything? I know the government likes to think that they do.
I doubt it. I doubt it. But you know, when people finally make a decision to change, they need to be in some kind of pain about their problem. Because if they think they're not having any impact from the smoking, then you know, why would they want to change? So we don't change because we're comfortable or we feel good. We change because we are in some kind of pain.
Well, let's talk more about change and changing your habits yourself with Robbie Spear Miller. She's the director at Burlington Hypnosis. You can call her at 905-634-4777. And you can actually get a free hypnotic screening. It's about it's 30 to 40 minutes, and it's fun and informative. And at that time, all your questions, well, Robbie aims to answer them. Again, you can call now for that free hypnotic screening, 905-634-4777. Back in a moment here on the Hypnosis Hour, Talk Radio AM640. Welcome back to Talk Radio AM640, the Hypnosis Hour. Ryan Bonner joined by Robbie Spear Miller. She is the director at Burlington Hypnosis. You can call her 905-634-4777. We are talking about, well, did you know it's National Non-Smoking Week? We're talking about kicking that horrible habit and other habits as well. We will get into shortly how to alter your eating style or eating habit. You might think, it's not possible. I'm addicted to a lot of the food that tastes great. And it's hard to, I guess, flip that switch off in your head that forces you to go for some of the unhealthier selections in a grocery store. We will get to that in a moment. And just a reminder that you can call Burlington Hypnosis for your free screening, 905-634-4777. It's a 30-minute process, and it's fun and informative. That's what Robbie here says, and she'll answer all your questions you have at that time. Now, I'm sure many clients you have dealt with have had many questions. They've also had a heck of a lot of excuses, and I'm holding this huge binder right now with thousands of names in it, thousands of testimonials, and the excuses you must have heard over the years. Robbie, how do you shatter those excuses with hypnosis?
So the first step when people come to see me is that we offer a free hypnotic screening. And I'm looking for a number of things when I meet with people, but that's really where I get to see if I can accept them as a client. And one of the first things that I do is I start to get people to free themselves from their excuses and to start to level and be honest about what they're actually doing. A great way to describe this is that Virginia Satir, she was a family therapist, and she identified that there were 4 main coping stances that we have in life, or excuses we make, or ways we distract ourselves from being real or leveling about what's happening. Mm-hmm. So my colleague Heather McFall came up with a great way to describe this. And so how it works is that the first coping stance is called the blamer. Okay. And so the blamer says, it's all your fault.
Yes.
And then there's the placator, which says, whatever you want, I'm just here for you. I'll do whatever you want. And then there's the computer, who's very rational and says, if we were to analyze this, we would find. And then the distractor just is completely irrelevant because they're focusing on something totally different. So if we had a boat and there was a hole in the boat, if you had 4 people in the boat, the blamer would say, who put the hole in that boat? And the placator would say, I'll swim to shore, and then the boat won't sink as fast. And the computer would say, at this rate, that boat is sinking at 3 inches per minute, so we'll be sunk in 20 minutes. And the distractor is going to say, look, there's a bird.
And that's basically all the factors that play in.
None of them are fixing the problem, which is that there's a hole in the boat.
So everybody goes through these stages when they're trying to come to grips with something, like smoking.
Right. So this is called a pattern interrupt, where we're interrupting the hypnotic trance they've been in all along, right? Convincing themselves that they need it, or it's their crutch or their best friend, or or they need it to relax or to be social.
Oh, yeah, that's my favorite. The social smoker. I only do it once in a blue moon. Meanwhile, they're doing it, a couple times a week. You don't have to smoke 3 packs a day to be addicted.
I've had people who smoke 2 or 3 a week, but they want to stop, so they come see me, right? So everywhere from there's some people who smoke 3 packs a day. So it's a really wide range. And the key is that person really wants to stop. They've got to be sincere about wanting to stop. We
were talking before the show went on here, and I asked, compare what you do at Burlington Hypnosis to the guy or gal who many have seen at their university or college campus doing hypnosis on stage. Is it a guy dangling a watch in your face saying, "You are feeling very sleepy"?
Well, we do lots of different things with people at the office, and the key really is we do whatever they need to reach their goal. So, we don't get quite as wacky as the stage shows, but it's the same thing. And you'll notice at those shows that the hypnotist is looking for the people who are willing to follow their instructions. And those are the people who end up staying up on stage and give a great show.
Yeah.
And so when people come to see me, they've got to be sincere about making a change and willing to follow my instructions. And we have a very frank conversation about that.
Yeah, because you do notice, I was mentioning a friend of mine who you would never expect to get up on stage and do something embarrassing, ended up doing that. Mm-hmm. And afterwards, she didn't really fully comprehend what she had done. And you have to be kidding me. There was no way I would do that.
Right.
But she was, I think, more of a willing participant in the event.
That's right. So I do a test on people to see how well they follow my instructions. So sometimes people will say they'll do it and then they don't actually do it. So I do want to see evidence that they really are willing to do that, because I want everybody to be successful.
How long does a relationship last between you and somebody who comes to see you for help?
It depends. So it's when they come and meet with me, I evaluate their situation. We customize a program for them. We basically design a program where we're making a commitment for them to get their goal. And we offer a guarantee that says if they happen to need any extra help beyond their program, then it's free for their original goal. So what I'm expecting is that people are willing to follow through. And most people find this surprisingly easy. And
really?
You can see, when you read about the people in the binder there that you have, most people are surprised, and they've tried everything else, and they're just surprised at how easy this is. Sometimes people do need some extra help, and if they know it's there for them if they need it.
Well, everybody's different.
That's
Everybody
right.
has a different story. As you were saying, different reason why they started smoking. So there are different things at play, and it's not just a one-size-fits-all sort of approach.
That's right. And, some of the people who do need extra help, sometimes they have some emotional reasons why they're holding on to the smoking. So an example is once I had this client come, and she was coming to stop smoking, and she was pregnant. And so it was urgent.
Yes,
she had to get it done. And what happened was that her brother had died tragically in a car accident. And she was very, very close to her brother. And she started smoking with him, and they would bond over smoking. Oh. So she was associating smoking with being connected up with him.
And she didn't want to give that up for that reason.
That's right. That's right. So in hypnosis, we call that a hidden agenda, right? There's some positive reason why she was holding on to that nasty habit, even though it was hurting her and her baby. So sometimes we have to resolve some other things in people's lives to help them really let go of the habit completely.
All right, let's take a break here and switch gears to another New Year's resolution, not smoking. It's the next most common promise everybody makes themselves at New Year's. And you can break your habits. Give Robbie Spear-Miller a call. She's the director at Burlington Hypnosis, 905-634-4777. You can get your 30-minute free hypnotic screening and find out more about yourself and the roadblocks that you've put up in your own head. We'll be back in a moment on the Hypnosis Hour, Talk Radio AM640. Welcome back to the Hypnosis Hour, Talk Radio AM640. Ryan Bonner joined by Robbie Spear-Miller. She is the director at Burlington Hypnosis. You can call her 905-634-4777. Go online, burlingtonhypnosis.ca. Now, Robbie, you like to say that through Burlington Hypnosis, people can actually enjoy the adventure of escaping that pit of despair that they're currently trapped in.
Mm-hmm. Well, what happens is a lot of people find themselves in what Fritz Perls called top dog, underdog thinking, right? Or there's a part of you, for example, there's a part of you that wants to lose weight and there's another part of you that wants to eat the chips or the Timbits. And so whenever that fight's going on, if there's a fight between willpower and your imagination and your emotions always win.
Every time.
Every time. So a lot of people, when they start, they'll talk about how they were on a diet and they lost a ton of weight, but then they gained it all back.
Right back, yeah.
And it's easy for people to do a short-term diet because it's kind of like falling in love. At the beginning, you're obsessed with the other person, right? Or you're obsessed with the diet and noticing all the good things. And then eventually the things that piss you off start creeping in.
And then you realize, oh, wait a minute, I have to do this for the rest of my life?
That's right.
I got to keep this up? It's not for me.
Yeah. So what we're doing is we're helping people escape that struggle that they're having, that internal struggle, right? Some people call it the angel and the devil.
Yeah. One on either side of your body, one on one shoulder, right? Yeah.
That's right. So that they can be single-minded in just simply doing what they need to do. So this is really about, it's kind of an act of surrender. But so that you can keep going with the lifestyle. And it becomes, it's really learning. With weight loss, people are learning how to respect themselves physically, emotionally, spiritually, so that they can move forward with their life in the way they want to.
But man, it can be so tough. Emotional eating, I guess, is one of the big issues that you encounter with people, with clients.
Yeah.
And man or woman, you do it. It happens maybe a few times a week where something's happened at work, something in your own personal life, and you're like, screw it. I'm ordering a whole bunch of KFC, or I love for women, I'm going to eat through a whole container of ice cream. That's right. That's a stereotypical approach, right?
Yeah. Well, I had a client once whose friend would call her up and say, do you want to go for ice cream? I want to eat my feelings. So yes, it's everywhere.
Yeah, well, that's basically what you're doing. But for somebody who is dealing with a weight issue, there can be a lot going on inside of their head.
Right. Often they need help with stress management. They may need help with self-confidence or some fears they have in their life. Often they need some help dealing with their relationships in a healthier way. Sometimes people are so focused on doing other things, by the time they focus on themselves, they're totally exhausted. So it's like they don't exist.
Yeah.
Right. So then they go and stuff their faces.
Yeah.
That's how they, reward themselves or give themselves time to blow off steam. So we really focus on giving people good alternatives, healthy ways to do that, and also to clean things up for people so that they're not as caught up in these patterns. We unhypnotize them out of these patterns.
That's a good term, unhypnotize them from what they've previously been hypnotized into. It's funny you talk about taking care of yourself last. That's what a lot of parents do. I'm a new dad, and I'm experiencing that. My wife and I, is that you do everything you can for your kid or kids, and then at the end of the day, you've not really done much for yourself. You haven't looked after yourself at all. All right, random question time. How do you get into your field? How do you become a hypnotist?
Well, I do have a school where I train students to become hypnotists, and we cover the hypnosis side of things, which is very much an art. It's a lot more of an art than a science. And then they learn also how to build a successful practice and do the whole package. So, I've been doing this for 10 years, and I still have somebody who mentors me.
Okay.
And there's always more to learn, which is what makes this a fascinating thing to do. So if you like people and you like learning and you're curious about life, it's really, sometimes I think if I did something else, what would I do? And I really can't think of something that I would find more interesting than what I do right now.
Well, again, the number of stories you encounter, the people you meet, and the people, again, going back to the book of testimonials, I have the one full of clients, individuals you've helped with their smoking, and then the one right here with weight loss, and it's thick with the people you've worked with.
That's right. And, when I'm training students, I'm really also working with them as clients. So I expect them to make changes in their own lives and unhypnotize themselves out of their own patterns and to be able to see other people's patterns in a real way. So it's a pretty intensive, I'm asking a lot of them, so they have to be willing to come along for the ride. It's not like a classroom experience. It's very hands-on. They get to observe in the clinic and get real-time feedback. So it's a very practical type of training.
Well, Robbie Spear-Miller is trained to help you at Burlington Hypnosis, 905-634-4777. Call for your free hypnotic screening. It takes about 30 minutes or so, and that's where Robbie determines if she can help you with your problem and provide you with the answers to the questions that you have. 905-634-4777. All right, don't go anywhere, because after the break, we are going to talk to somebody who Robbie was able to help. You're listening to the Hypnosis Hour, Talk Radio AM640. Welcome back to the Hypnosis Hour here on Talk Radio AM640. Ryan Bonner joined by Robbie Spear-Miller. She is the director at Burlington Hypnosis. You can give her a shout. Why would you call Robbie? Well, Robbie can help you whether you have an issue with your smoking habit, you want to break the habit, much like breaking the cigarette, and if you have a issue with your weight. You can call her, 905-634-4777. Go online to burlingtonhypnosis.ca. And Robbie has used hypnosis time and time again for thousands of people. And these people are real. They actually exist. She's not making them up. I have their testimonials right here in front of me. 2 huge binders. I flipped through the pages, and I can verify that each and every one of these signatures is unique. And I think it's time that we actually hear from somebody that Robbie has helped. Her name is Anne. Anne, how you doing?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Now, what did you see Robbie for? What was your issue that you wanted corrected?
It was weight loss.
It was weight loss.
Yes.
And how did you? How did the process begin with you and Robbie?
Well, I've been going for approximately 12 weeks, and I had tried just about every diet known to mankind. And while I lost the weight, I've never been able to maintain it. So this time I realized that I needed a lifestyle change and not a diet. I needed something that I could do for the rest of my life. And on this, by going through the hypnosis, I found that there was nothing that I can't eat. I love chocolate chip cookies, but I don't need to eat 6 in a sitting. I can have 1 and be satisfied with that. It's like I've got this other little person sitting on my shoulder saying, what would a thin person do? Well, a thin person is content with just a taste. They don't need 5 or 6 of them. I've had sweets sitting on my counter from Christmas, and I've been able to ignore them. And
I've resisted those.
I did.
That's tough.
I've never been able to do that.
Because you figure I'll just get rid of them. I'll eat them all now, and then it'll be over and done with.
That's exactly what I do think. Yes. And now I've been able to just totally ignore them, and eventually I'll throw them out.
Well, and Robbie, you pointed out earlier before we had you on here, Ann, Robbie, you were saying that with a lot of people trying to go through weight loss programs, they'll do it for a while, they'll have some success, and then they'll fall off the horse.
That's right.
Which is what happened in your case, Ann. So
yes.
You've just recently started with 12 weeks.
Yes. 12 weeks, and from day one, like when I first went to her, I was kind of depressed and out of sorts. It was I'd gone through, I just retired, and I couldn't find my way, sort of thing, and I wasn't getting myself out enough. So my sense of self has improved from day one. I'm walking an hour a day and drinking water on the program, something that I've never been able to do on a consistent basis before. And I know that this is something that I can do for the rest of my life. And losing weight is a bonus on top of that.
I would think so. And these are things that experts will be interviewed as part of these New Year's resolutions news stories. And what can you do to lose weight? And they'll say it's very simple. You just mentioned the man walking, drinking water.
Yes.
But people just don't seem to grasp or grab hold of that scientific fact.
Well, and that's what I was trying to say before about it's not a diet. It's a lifestyle, because this is something, because I've been on all the diets, they don't work. And now this is the lifestyle change that I know that I can do for the rest of my life. Doesn't matter what the weather is. I don't have any more excuses. And I feel good about myself again.
And Robbie, you said that, and Ann, you mentioned that one of the reasons I guess it led you to a weight issue was the fact that you had retired, and I guess you sort of lost your way a bit?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got, I retired January 6th of 2015.
Congrats.
And right in the middle of dead of winter, and my husband was still working, so there was nothing to do all day long. And I hadn't really thought about that before I retired, and I knew I wanted to volunteer, and I knew I wanted to be out there, and but I didn't know how to go about doing it, and not that this program worked its magic or anything, but at least it gave me the self-confidence that I needed to go out and make the phone calls and go back to the gym and to start walking and,
wow. You got to do everything, Robbie.
Yeah. I don't want her to sound like God or anything.
Close. You're almost there. You're a few more explanations away from that.
The side benefits that come with it.
This is how weak-souled I am. You were mentioning, chocolates or sweets on the counter. I have a few. And at home, and I'm thinking right now, like, man, I get home, I'm so eating those things.
That's the way I used to be at work, too.
Oh.
3 o'clock, I'd be thinking, I can make it another hour, and I'll be home, and then, I've got those chocolate chip cookies, or I've got those, yes.
So you're free of that.
Sweets that John's mom made us.
John's mom makes the best sweets. So you're free of that. You're free of that now.
Exactly, totally.
Awesome, beautiful. Well, Ann, I hope you have a great rest of the day.
Thanks, you too.
And continued success.
Take care.
All right. That was Ann calling in, and again, somebody you've worked with the last number of weeks. And she sounds quite thrilled about the progress, so that's great. And Robbie, in case people are wondering, well, where are you located? You're just off the 401.
That's right. It's right off the highway.
Yeah, exactly. Right in Burlington, Guelph Line and Fairview Street. But it's always a good idea to call ahead. You can call Robbie at Burlington Hypnosis, 905-634-4777. And you can sign up now for your free hypnotic screening. That process takes about 30 to 40 minutes, but it's very informative. And Robbie says that it's at that point where you will have many answers to your questions, and she can figure out if she can help you with your problem. All right, let's continue to tackle weight loss here when we come back on the Hypnosis Hour, Talk Radio AM640. Ryan Bonner here. Welcome back to the Hypnosis Hour on Talk Radio AM640. I'm not alone. I'm joined, by you, of course, but I'm also joined by Robbie Spear-Miller. She is the director at Burlington Hypnosis. And Robbie, they can call you, those listening can call you 905-634-4777. They can also go online to burlingtonhypnosis.ca. And we've been talking this hour about kicking the smoking habit, one of the worst habits humans can have. Also, we're talking about the other bad habit, eating too much, diet, but more specifically weight loss and getting rid of some excess fat, some weight that you don't want, that you shouldn't have. But Robbie, people find so many reasons why they shouldn't start to control their weight or attack their weight. There's a list of excuses, and I know people listening right now have probably encountered some of the ones that you have encountered with a lot of the clients you've worked with. Mm-hmm. Some of the most popular ones being, what have you come across?
Well, sometimes I get people who come in and they'll admit that they think that they look the way they looked when they were 20, and then they're walking through the mall and they catch a glimpse of themselves reflected in one of the windows or in a mirror.
Is that a circus mirror or a carnival mirror? Are you
exactly. Sure? Yeah, so those people they're not aware of what's actually happening. Right.
Yeah.
So, a colleague of mine talks about how when he was learning hypnosis originally, there was this guy who was over 400 pounds, and he swore up and down that he ate just like everybody else. And so he agreed to have video cameras installed in his house, so they monitored him 24/7.
Really?
And when they showed the videos to him, he just cried because, during the day he was eating okay, but at night he'd eat a whole pizza and a bag of Oreos and a huge bottle of Coke. And it was just totally out of his awareness. And to some extent, we all do that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We think that we're just eating like anybody else. And, a lot of things sneak in that way. But if you look at how people shop at the grocery store, it's a good indicator.
Peek into people's grocery bags.
Yeah.
Do you really need those chips there? And there's a show on TLC, 600 Pound Life. Uh-huh. And it follows people through their lives as they attempt to lose all that weight. And it's the same thing. They'll think, well, I eat pretty well. And when they actually document what they are bringing home from the store, none of it is good for you.
Yeah.
And none of it's going to help you lose weight.
That's right.
And you have to change that mindset.
Well, you do. And the opposite side of that coin is that most people actually do know what they're supposed to do. They could actually write the book about what they're supposed to do, but they're not doing it, right?
No.
So they're kind of in denial, and they're flip-flopping back and forth between the two.
Self-confidence is a big factor in that.
It is. Yeah. So a lot of people who come for weight loss, a lot of people say, oh, well, when I lose the weight, then I'll be confident. Then I'll feel good about myself. The problem is that if they're not feeling good about themselves, it actually has very little to do with the weight. They need to, sometimes they're overeating because they're feeling bad about themselves. Mm-hmm. But just losing some weight isn't going to help them really feel better about themselves, not in the long term. So we really want to help people feel better and more confident and be handling life in a better way, and then they lose the weight. Because if you don't do that, if somebody goes and they, feel bad about themselves and they lose some weight, often they gain it back because the food is a crutch. When they feel bad about themselves.
Something happens, and it could be a big thing, small thing, and they're right back to where they started from.
Well, there's that, and there's also that once they've lost the weight, if they don't feel better about themselves, they'll say, well, I didn't even get what I wanted anyway, so why bother? And
then they'll just start doing what slip back into the old habit.
That's right.
So at Burlington Hypnosis, it's all about going after that base issue.
That's right.
And what is it? Unhypnotizing.
That's right.
Yourself out of that.
Yeah. And people, there's all kinds of excuses. Like, for example, I had a client come once, and she used to be tall and beautiful, and she used to be very slim. Like, she looked like a model. And what happened was that she was put on some medication, and the doctor had told her that there might be some weight gain, as they often do. Yeah. And so she proceeded to gain 100 pounds. And when I told her to ask her doctor about the medication, he said, well, maybe you'd gain 10 pounds from the meds. But she had just used it as an excuse and said, well, I'm on these meds. Right. So there's a lot of that too, right? People blame all kinds of things.
I might get in trouble for bringing this one up. Mothers will use it. Should I stop myself? No, I'll keep going. Mothers during pregnancies will use that. Well, I can kind of eat what I gotta fuel my body. I'm feeding not
eating
just
for
myself,
two.
Eating for two. Is that an issue? That can be another excuse.
It is. And, and the thing
I'm
is...
sorry, pregnant mothers out there. I'm not trying to pick a fight here.
It is another example.
It is.
Yes.
Or I've just lost my job. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to eat and I'll bounce back. Once I get another job again down the road, I'll bounce back from this binge eating I'm experiencing right now.
Right. Or they broke up a relationship or they're bored or, we could list a million different reasons.
Now, I was asking you in the break about, this time of year. It's when we've just had the new year come and gone. And people set all these New Year's resolutions. I'm going to do this. I'm going to spend more time with my family. I'm going to stop smoking. I'm going to alter my weight or lose weight. It must be a good time of year for you when everybody comes knocking on your door saying, I need help with this, but not necessarily?
Well, it is a good time in that I think that in this season, people are in a good state of mind to make changes. What we really are looking for is people who are willing to see it through, because sometimes at New Year's resolutions, it's like New Year's, you're at a party, everybody's deciding what they're going to change.
Spur of the moment.
Right? There's peer pressure. So you really want to be honest with yourself and be ready to do what it takes and follow through. This isn't like it's a lifestyle change. So you've got to be willing to stay the course.
So it's not like you're not like a gym who is preying on people to sign up, get a year-long membership, and help convince them. Yeah, you're going to be. We'll get you into our gym. You'll get healthier. You'll get more fit. And then most people end up losing steam. Even a few weeks into their gym membership because they realize, know what, this isn't for me. I don't really want to do this.
And that's why we do the free hypnotic screening, because I'm really, testing people to see if they're really willing to follow through. I want people to come and do the whole, I expect them to go all the way to the end.
So you're not just saying, I'll take everybody who comes to me just so I can do more business. It's not about that. It's about...
No, and sometimes people are surprised when I say I can't help them.
So you will turn people...
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Now, can you unhypnotize people from making New Year's resolutions? I was just thinking, could you help somebody that way? I don't know. Perhaps you don't. But you have to call and find out. 905-634-4777. BurlingtonHypnosis.ca is the website. Call now or go online and book your free hypnotic screening. We'll be back in a moment with more. Robbie Spear-Miller is with me, director at Burlington Hypnosis. You're listening to Talk Radio, AM640. Welcome back to the Hypnosis Hour here on Talk Radio AM 640. Ryan Bonner, joined by Robbie Spear-Miller. She's the director at Burlington Hypnosis. You can call her for your free consultation. The number is 905-634-4777. If you think, she can't help me, give her a call and find out if she can. Maybe, in all likelihood, she can help you. And you're probably sitting here listening right now thinking, if it's an issue with weight loss, you're thinking, you know what, I've been listening, and Robbie, you said, well, everybody has an excuse for why they're not losing weight, but mine is a legitimate excuse. Are there any legitimate excuses in some cases that you can't break through with hypnosis?
Well, sometimes people do have medical issues, real medical issues.
You can't change the law.
It happens.
when it comes,
That's right. But often, in many, many cases, people are really just making, distracting. Yeah, they're distracting themselves, or they might be getting caught up in, when we talked about a hidden agenda before, there are lots of those. So, I've seen people who want to hold on to their weight. Their hidden agenda is that they're worried that if they get thin and they start looking sexy, they'll be tempted to cheat.
You've encountered that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's actually really common.
Really?
Yeah, the comfort with getting attention from the opposite sex, or being able to just negotiate that whole dynamic. Because if you're overweight, often people kind of feel like they're invisible. Yeah,
no, that's true. Now, and that's one excuse you've encountered with many people. You have a list of others that you want to run through right now?
Well, one big thing I find, especially with women, is that there's a lot of self-consciousness and a lot of pressure. And so I remember there was this one client. She was beautiful. At any weight I saw her at, she was just a stunning woman.
Really?
But she was so perfectionistic and self-conscious about how she looked. And she lost a ton of weight. And then she went to a wedding and got all these compliments because people said, wow, you look incredible, which I'm sure she did because she was beautiful. And
did she know how to handle those?
What happened was that then it kind of threw her off.
Really?
And she was, because she got this big fear of failure thing going on. Like, people were noticing, there was all this pressure.
I can't let them down.
Yeah. And so she had to move through that emotional piece to get to a different place about that. And that's very, very common with people.
So I guess it's easier to be comfortable with the way things are now than to go through all that effort just to fail, or you think you will fail.
If you didn't try, then you didn't fail.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's something that you've come across time and time again, and you can help solve or help deal with.
That's right. And so when people come in and, they first meet with me, a big part of it is really getting them to see these hidden agendas they have going on, because if they can't admit them, then, it's kind of hard to resolve them.
Yeah, just a little bit. A little bit.
So we really, address that. And sometimes we just address it in a big picture way. And sometimes people don't know all the answers, but just acknowledging that is there really makes a difference for people. And the other thing is, and I'll say to people, if you're here, then obviously you can't do this yourself, because if you could, you would have done it by now.
Yeah, you've tried, and it hasn't been working out for you.
And so you're here for feedback. And so they do have to be willing to follow my instructions and to be willing to take feedback. And sometimes that can be a little uncomfortable for people.
Criticism?
It's not criticism.
I know that's a harsh word. Sorry.
It's really just they have to be curious and say, what hypnotic trance have I been in that's been hurting me? And to be willing to learn from that and to make their lives better. And so that's something that I'm really looking for when people come in. But it's really, when they do it, it's really interesting for them, and it's a relief. Like when we talked to Anne, her whole life and outlook on life has changed because of this.
And that was a great story from Anne, because you think with her retirement, that wouldn't spark an issue in your life. You're retiring. If you have a pension, then man, that's great. You get to relax the rest of your life. But obviously she had an issue with that, connected to something as simple as retirement. And you helped her through that. Well, we just run out of time here. but have learned quite a bit. And hopefully you listening right now have as well. Now, the website, of course, is burlingtonhypnosis.ca, and a free consultation. Let's stress that. It's a free consultation. That's when they call you.
Yep. Yeah, it takes about 30 to 40 minutes. It's fun. It's informative. You get to just discover what this is all about.
And you can start that whole process calling 905-634-4777. Robbie Spear-Miller, Director, Burlington Hypnosis, thank you very much for joining us here.
Thanks for having me.
And again, you can sign up for your free hypnotic screening by calling 905-634-4777. I'm Ryan Bonner. Thanks for listening to the Hypnosis Hour.